Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am BorderWise and welcome back to From the Depths. And welcome indeed to 5 starting craft tips. And by starting craft I mean the first thing you make, well maybe not the first thing, the first combat craft you make in a campaign. The early game combat craft, the thing that, well, is the thing you make just to get your campaign started, make your first moves, and basically just be the starter of whatever fleet you're making. So this is an example hydrofoil I made. I'm actually quite fond of this thing. I call it the Hexplorer, just because, I don't know, Hex, because that sounds funny, and Explorer because, well, that's its job, really. It is essentially a laser-armed scout craft, a little hydrofoil. It is fast, it is fairly cheap, it's convenient. Which brings us to the first tip I have for you people for making a starter craft. Try and keep the thing nice and cheap, because in the early game of a campaign, be it Neater, be it of oil, of oil in Pirates, or be like any campaign, like custom campaigns as well, you're gonna have less materials before you have more, and depending on what difficulty you're playing on, you might not have much time in order to build something that can fight. So cheap is better. I find that between 20 to 50,000 materials is a good measure for that. That's nice and affordable. This fella is just under 50,000 materials for 9,444. Very nice. And try and make a glass cannon, because that's better bang for your buck. This guy does not have particularly thick armor. It does have all-round spaced armor though. Because I'm trying to get myself to do that these days. It's just, because, heat and hash and kinetic shells just come from all directions, or so it seems. And it's just, nice rubber wrapping and all that. But, for something that's made almost entirely out of alloy, it's pretty cheap. Okay, and also, the next thing, this is very important, is versatile. So, that's basically what this thing is armed with. It's got a laser as kind of a main weapon, so to speak. It's not a particularly strong laser. Let me show you how big this laser is. It's basically just a line of mostly single input cavities, and it is a 2Q laser, and the continuous damage is like really not that much at all. Let's turn the UI on. Is about 960 damage per second. It's really not much. However, that is plenty for a starter craft to deal with this kind of stuff. Let's spawn in. Can this thing handle a Falcon Squadron? That is a good test. I haven't tested against the Falcon. I might get embarrassed right now. So yeah, a laser is a good thing. Some kind of hit scan weapon just to deal with planes. Especially death spiraling planes. I tend to find you want to... You want something that can handle them, because otherwise they're going to be a giant waste of your time. And yeah, should also be punchy. Try and get something that punches above its weight. And that right there is why spaced armor is a good idea, because I tend to find that these are heat shells, aren't they? Or not. Also, another tip for making your thing very cheap, you'll notice that it's got a rotate... Oh goodness, it just got blown off. That's not good. It's got a rotating spin block with decoys on it, which thankfully repair very quickly. That's very convenient. Thank goodness for repair bots. Nice cheap missile defense. Engine power is cheaper than missile components, as it turns out. So yeah, there's that. You should be able to, your starter craft should be able to, pound for pound, take on any godly you expect to fight. So this thing, for in an instance, is designed with... the starting on the easy starting position for Neater, which means taking on the Deepwater Guard. This thing can quite comfortably take on things like the Plunderer, because it's fast enough to dodge cram shells. It's got pretty decent missile defense. So yeah, you want to keep in mind what you're going to be fighting. And fast. Being fast is important. This thing has a top speed of about 72 meters per second, which means it can dodge things like cram cannons pretty easily, especially since it stays 1.5 kilometers away from the opponent. And it also means that it's almost completely out of the water, which means that torpedoes can't target it. So that's quite helpful. Flying try and when in doubt, make your stuff fly. And I'm loving how that spin block decoy is just really helpful against all this. How are we doing? We're doing great. We are tickling these falcons to death. So, knowing your enemies, number 5. So, number 1, cheap. Number 2, versatile. Number 3, punch above your weight. Punch godlies. Number 4 is fast. And 5 is know your enemy. The exact starting craft you use should depend on what you're fighting. So, they're like the mini campaigns, the ones that aren't straight neater, or depending on your starting location neater, you are going to be right next to different opponents. So this fella would be fine against the Deepwater Guard. It would not be fine against the Lightning Hoods, since they use lasers and plasma, and that is exactly a problem for us, because you can't really dodge lasers and plasma. Alright, so that spaced armor I'm using is absolute bloody genius, because I just spotted that those are heat shells. Anyway, but then when fighting things like the Lightning Hoods, your starting craft could be something like a submarine, or something a little bit slower that's very laser-proof. Maybe a cheap front-sider of some kind that can, you know, something like a cheap-ish front-sider, maybe with a small plasma gun or something like that. If you're fighting against the Onyx Watch, then I highly recommend using planes. Because that's, like, they really struggle with planes, especially fast ones with really big missiles and torpedoes. And if you're up against the Steel Striders, leave the lasers at home, because most of their stuff is smoked. So you want to bring along a particle cannon or something like that to deal with, actually to deal with planes like this. So yeah, that's basically it. Keep it cheap, versatile, punchy, fast, know your enemy and build accordingly, and you will make a decent starter craft. So when in doubt, I suggest building a jet fighter with some kind of hit-scan weapon on it to deal with death-spiraling planes and all that stuff. And we're actually doing pretty well here. How are we doing? Doing great. I frickin' love this little guy. I'm getting more fond of it all the time. And I actually designed this fella to take on a swarm of flying squirrels, which it can do. Never underestimate a laser, even if it's a cheap, nasty one, because it can still take a plane out of the sky. Only problem is this thing has almost zero stability, which means it misses a lot. Lousy accuracy. It's a bit of a problem. Tell me... Okay, that's rubber, thank goodness. Okay, so this is going to take a while. We're going to leave the Hexplorer shooting its little laser at these planes. And thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this, support me on Patreon or YouTube membership if you like. It really helps, and there's fun perks in it for you. Thank you to all my current supporters, and I'll see you next time in From the Depths. Farewell.